as I had expected when I did not give the response she was looking for. Closetta was made so confused and did not know how to continue. Now it was my turn to show off. Since you're here, I would like to apologize on behalf of Benjamin. I hope you can forgive Benjamin for his rash behavior earlier. He had no ill intentions toward Mr. Sabot. He was just jealous. The bewildered look on Closetta's face was entertaining, quelling the anger that Benjamin's outburst had stirred in me. The person you love shall be punished for your wrongs, Benjamin. However, it wasn't long before Closetta went on to test my patience.
Miss LaRouche, did you go to Leicester Middle School?
She asked. Leicester Middle School was a school for the elite, one which people from ordinary backgrounds like me could afford. I quickly shook my head, curious as to why Cleta had brought this up. I wondered if it was to demonstrate her sense of superiority toward me, having been brought up in an elite school. Cleta smiled as she said,
Miss LaRouche, you reminded me of a classmate. I remember that her last name was also LaRouche. At that time, she liked Benjamin a lot too. I thought you were the same person.
As Benjamin's words told me to reflect on my actions, stuck in my mind, I could not help but worry he would dismiss my self-reflection as unserious. So that night, I returned to my own house to make my reflection count. I planned to return to his apartment the next day and let him know that I had deeply reflected on my actions. Unexpectedly, my sleep was plagued with nightmares. In my dream, I was child. Again, surrounded by a group of bullies who taunted with crude remarks about my appearance and told me that I did not deserve anything. When I woke up in a cold sweat, I tried to recall the faces of those who had bullied me. I was certain that once I had earned enough money, I would pay someone to give them a taste of their own medicine. Feeling famished, I wandered to the kitchen to cook myself a comforting plate of pasta. I sauteed onions and boiled water. In the boiling water, I added pasta noodles and cooked 2 poached eggs to perfection. As I walked back into the living room with my fragrant bowl of pasta, I turned on the lights and froze. Someone was sitting on my couch, catching me off guard. I had no recollection of when he arrived. I let out a loud shriek, and my bowl of pasta nearly dropped. Then I found it was Benjamin. When did you come here? I exclaimed. Benjamin sat upright on the couch, his eyes carrying a profound sadness. However, I could not dwell on that. What I needed to know was how he had ended up in my house. Benjamin ignored my question. He gazed at my bowl of pasta and posed a deeply philosophical question.
Am I really uninteresting?
Why was he reflecting on himself when he was the one who told me to reflect on my action? I was not going to risk offending him by calling him uninteresting, so I just complimented him instead. Ordinary people may be dull, but you are serious and stern. These are excellent qualities that every successful person should possess. He smiled, but there was still a hint of sadness in his eyes.
Want to know why Closey broke up with me?
I shook my head. According to the 3rd rule of being a corporate slave, the less you knew about your boss's secrets, the better. Benjamin appeared disinterested in my opinion. He continued.
She found me boring and uninteresting, so she dumped me for Zachary.
I finally understood why he had been so upset at the restaurant earlier. I broke out in a cold sweat, frantic to think of a way to retract the compliment I had given Zachary. Then I heard myself say, maybe you can have some of my pasta. Benjamin remained silent as he glared at me. I realized pasta was not enough to make up for my mistake. How about this? We could do something really special, I suggested, to make things right. Like I said, it's free this time. But Benjamin looked at me as if I were a fool, leaving me feeling embarrassed. Never mind then, I said, trying to play it coolly, placed my bowl of pasta on the table and began to eat. Truthfully, I was a little disappointed. I was longing for some company, hoping for a warm body to comfort my soul. Since I had no one to keep me company, I took solace in the warm bowl of pasta. However, before I could sit myself down, I was pulled into a warm embrace. Benjamin planted a kiss on my lips, a kiss that I could feel his breath on my face. Having experienced making love with someone before, the second time was even actually better. For the first time, I finally understood the true meaning of intimacy. The people from old times were so good with words. That night, we were two tireless fish swimming back and forth in the water for who knew how many times until we were completely exhausted and fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up feeling like my body had been crushed by a truck. I felt soreness all over my body, and I almost could not get out of bed. Benjamin was gone, probably just off to work. He was always dedicated to his work. I picked up my phone and was about to order takeout for myself. I noticed a notification on my phone. Benjamin had transferred money to me again. Despite my financial needs, I refused to accept the money, as I had to uphold my dignity. I messaged Benjamin, insisting it was a treat for me. He replied,
Take it so I'd feel better if our encounter last night could simply remain transactional.
His message made me angry. Who was he looking down on now? Was I incapable of giving? I refused to accept his money and transferred $1 back to him. I replied, take this. So last night's on my account. About 15 minutes later, he accepted the transaction. As our transaction concluded, I felt a sense of satisfaction. Considering the wonderful experience I had the previous night, I thought perhaps I could spend to indulge myself a few more times. Before I could contemplate a second chance, the paparazzi that I hired to look into Zachary provided me with a shocking revelation. My fellow working-class comrade Zachary was secretly a player. The photo showed him kissing a young girl. The paparazzi revealed that Zachary was teaching in an art college in the country, and the girl in the photo was his student. As someone with his financial background, Zachary had really hit the jackpot by winning the heart of a wealthy woman, but he went even further by cheating on her with one of his students. This bastard, my positive impression of him from yesterday had completely vanished. Initially, I felt inclined to send the photo to Closetta and encourage her to break up with this scumbag. However, I hesitated. If I did, Closetta and Benjamin would get back together, and I would be like out of a job. With only 2 months' worth of salary in hand, I couldn't afford to lose my job. After all, I am determined to achieve my goal of earning $150,000. Therefore, I decided to wait and reevaluate my options in 2 months. Being cheated on for a day or 2 months would make no difference. Anyway, that being said, I ultimately decided to prioritize my own interests over Benjamin's, despite being aware that it was a dereliction of my duty. Upon facing Benjamin, I felt a sense of guilt which led me to hold back when choosing my desired birthday gift that Benjamin would pay for, with the intention of saving him money. Benjamin was surprised when he saw the bill that I handed him.
I thought you would take the opportunity to splurge using my money,
He said with a smirk. It seemed that my greedy nature had been too obvious. Feeling embarrassed, I smiled and tried to come up with an excuse. You must be kidding. I am a person with a strong sense of professional ethics. Amused, there was a flicker of excitement in Benjamin's eyes as he said,
Well, sure, to reward you for your professionalism, I shall buy you a gift. What do you want for your birthday?
I was surprised that he had offered to give me a gift Without hesitation, I pointed at the invoice for the things I had bought. These are all the things I want. I have also made a reservation at the restaurant. Perhaps you could go with me.
I'm not talking about this.
Benjamin cut me off.
I meant, what will the real Juliet want for her birthday?
All Juliet wanted was money. My eyes lit up after giving it some thought. Well, there is one thing I had always wanted since I was a kid. I want to ride a Ferris wheel at night. Benjamin looked at me in disbelief.
Are you sure that's all you want?